Well, hey there, everybody. Hope you're having a good day. In this video, we're going to talk a little bit about this is a beginner guitar video. I'm going to stop saying the number in the video because I'm going to number them as I post them up from now on. So it's beginner guitar. I'm not sure which one's going to be, but we're going to talk about melody building, and we're going to stick with what we've covered in the past, which is just the G major scale across the fretboard. And the idea here with melody building is you take the notes of this scale, the key that we've talked about across the fretboard, and you make them sound the way you want to hear. Now you may be wondering, like, well, geez, where do I start? Well, it's G, so you could always start with that note. So we'll start there, and we'll just kind of go some places. You'll hear, what I'm playing and see what you think you like, what you don't like, and get ideas of where you could go. Now, we could start there. Now, I know I'm using vibrato, and we haven't really talked about it. I'm going to recommend you just kind of pay attention to that finger. See how I'm giving it an ever so slight wiggle. Now you can go different speeds. Fast. I always kind of start slow and speed it up. Now, at some point, we'll cover this in a little more depth, but just kind of wiggle the notes a tiny bit. It puts a little life into them. I mean, violinists do this. Opera singers, you can hear vibrato in their voice. It's pretty common in music. We're going to start with that G note. Go up a step. Okay, that's not bad. Now I added a little more spice there, a little hammer on and a slide. You could play it straight up. Now where do you go? Well, that's up to you. You could go back down to that G and maybe go up a string. That's an idea. So there's one idea. Repeat what that. There's one way you go. So now you've got personally, that last time I hear it going different. That's how I would hear it in my head, but it's not really what we're getting at, is like how I would hear it. It's just teaching you that, like, you can kind of just noodle your way around. Maybe skip. Maybe you're not comfortable with string skipping yet, but you can like really move around one. Well, let's just stay on that low E and see what we get. All I did was took everything we've learned about G major, and on that low E string, I just searched around for what I enjoyed to hear out of those notes. I never took a step away from the notes of that G major scale. I just stayed on that one string. So that can help you build melodies. Now let's do something a little more complicated. We'll use the low 3 strings, okay? And we'll do a little bit of a third hop to the open D string. So that's another option, is you can take like a shape. We know now that's a minor third, but you got to stick with the scale. So we're sticking strictly in the key, no notes outside. I played some notes outside because sometimes I suck at what I do. It was accidental. I wasn't doing it to be like creative or crafty. I just forgot where I was at and oops. Yeah, you take your thirds, just but those are all those notes. Now I will give you some tips and tricks. Sticking with going up and down the scale is generally boring. It's predictable. Your ear can hear that. So what you want is like these successions of where you like maybe skip a third or a fourth or something bigger, and then move diatonically or by step. So let's take a look at that. Let's say you skip up a fourth and go down 2 notes after that fourth. Okay, now all we did there was went start note up a fourth, down to diatonically or by the scale. Then I just grabbed a new spot and started. I'm not really thinking so much of like, ooh, 1, there's the 3, there's the 2. It's just go to a new spot. If I like it, I'll keep it. If I don't, then I start over and find where I like it. You could search these scales forever and find things you like. Let's try like a bigger skip. Okay, so we'll start. I'll go up to the higher string. I'll stick where it was. So we'll go up a sixth, and then up a third, then down back to that sixth diatonically. Let's try that. So 1, up your sixth, up a third, down to that sixth, and find a new spot to do the same thing. So this would be what's called like a motive or I can't think of the word for it right now. It's like this melodic repetition. So we're gonna go note, up a sixth, up a third, back down to that sixth diatonically, and start in a new spot. There, and then you could start over, or you could keep going and finding new weaving around, you can go that's the right note. Now you don't always have to resolve to the G. It's just what we're doing. It kind of makes sense. I'm sticking a little more to the majors, but so that's the idea of melody building. Since you're new, it's still a beginner video. Just find like put together in your head a little pattern you're gonna do. Say you're gonna go. Let's do a downward one. We've done 2 upward ones. Let's do a downward one. So let's say you're gonna go down a fifth, and then go down a step, and then move around diatonically. So we'll say like, resolve to G again, which is not something you have to do, but There we have this downward. You go down a fifth, your power chord shape. Down a step, up a step, back down to where you were on that fifth. And you got kind of cool. That's where your tritone is. You know, but that's, so then what you get, you know, once you start putting together prettier melodies or things that you enjoy hearing, then you can start putting, you know, chords with them, which it's one guitar. So, or I have one guitar in my hands. When you record, you can do two guitars, or maybe you're playing guitar with a buddy. But you can kind of check these things because that's a G, but that right there, that open is also a G. So say you're just going to use that G chord and you're trying to find a melody. Well, you can use that note, let it ring, and you can hear sort of what you're going to get when that whole chord's happening. So now you know, if you had two guitars, and you're using that power chord or your big chord, that this works. Now, as the chords get more complicated and you start to get away from the one chord, you might have to be a little more careful which notes you use. Well, even with the one chord, that note, that F sharp, your melody, you know, if you play those together, you can clearly hear, okay, I can't sit on that note very long. That doesn't mean you can't use that note. You just can't sit on it. Now, that note you can sit on. Very, very constant. That one's not bad. You sit on it too, right? Or the fifth. So then you start finding notes. It's like, oh, I can sit on that one. It sounds pretty good. Now the ninth. You can sit on that, but you can kind of hear how it wants to resolve back down to the root. The sixth. So that note kind of gets a different color. So if you noodle around in that area, you're going to get a different color, and you can again let that G ring. And kind of hear what you're going to get or where you need to resolve to. So yeah, that's just beginner melody building. Find, you know, take your scale across the fretboard, noodle around with it, jump stuff, you know, jump strings, you know. That's a string skip up to the octave, and then you move around. So yeah, I'm gonna kind of call it quits on this video for now. And we'll come back to more melody building later, but I just kind of want to give you some ideas and remind you, don't be scared. This whole scale, this whole thing is up to you to use it however you want, and you can even use the notes in between as you see fit. I just want you to be conscious of, like, in this key, playing within the key allows you to color more clearly, more brilliantly, and then you can color with the weird stuff later. Anyhow, have a good day. You're going to do awesome.